I'm going to start out with my brand kit. I try to keep everything pretty simple, pretty straightforward. My tagline is crafting as weird as Sam's. I'm Middle Eastern, so I want to include a lot of that in there. Not necessarily this collection specifically, but my brand overall is going to be a modern luxury brand, redefining modest fashion with sculptural silhouettes, jewelry, and integrated designs, and culturally inspired craftsmanship. This is my mood board for my collection. I really wanted to include this because I feel like it needs some extra explaining a little bit. It pretty much is just like showing how nature things once was man-made. My family is from a war-torn country, so that happens a lot there. There's a lot of organic textures, and it's just pretty much growing and taking back. Yeah. My target audience is upper middle income women around ages 23 to 38. My main market is like occasion wear, evening gowns. It's not bridal, but it's very close to bridal. Yeah, sorry, I gotta keep it short. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so
You're
I'm
fine.
just gonna try to like skim through this as quick as I can. I'm so sorry. So
Don't
it's
apologize.
not fast fashion. It's not streetwear. It is premium occasion wear. It's a contemporary, modest luxury fashion. My market category is occasion wear market, modern luxury segment, cultural fusion fashion market, boutique designer market, and then like religious emerging brands. My geographic target market is the United States, would be for New York, LA, Chicago, and Michigan. And then once I can get a good establishment here, I would like to move it to the UAE, London, Paris, Canada, Turkey, and Egypt. So I'm really looking for women who are willing to spend about $300 to $1,200 per dress. The primary target age is 23 to 38. Secondary is around 38 to 50. I would be competing with like luxury brands, boutique evening wear designers, cultural fusion designers, emerging brands, emerging couture labels. I would not be competing with anybody like Shein, Zara, Fashion Nova, Fast Fashion, H&M, anything like that. This is the simplistic sketch of my first look, which is the heart of the garden. I wanted to kind of show better like construction sketches more so. Keep it like plain and simple so you guys can really see like what's going on underneath everything that I will be adding to each of my designs. But yeah. And then for this one, I will be getting a metal gate. We're so far looking at chicken wire. We still have not fully decided on what that's specifically going to be. There's a lot of different options, and it's really difficult on trying to get certain hardware and everything to work perfectly for the model as well. It is going to be separated from the actual piece. The actual piece will have a bodice with a sheer like a sheer skirt, poly chiffon. Majority of the extra stuff you see will be like hand sewn on, and just to keep it more secure and longer lasting. For this one, I do feel like it's a little bit more plain. However, it's going to probably take the most work. Each flower that is on there is going to be individually hand sewn. Yeah. And then this is my final look for the heart of the garden. The flower is going to be made out of like organza, taffeta, velvet. It's going to be a wide mixture of a lot of stuff just to kind of give it more depth and value and richness. The veils are going to also kind of be handmade or individually purchased. I probably will just end up hand making them out of extra fabric. Yeah. Like I said with this one, the metal gate separate. It's going to be a little bit more complex, a little more of like an architecture side of actually like hardware and getting everything to fully be functioning. The shear is also going to be a poly chiffon. The moss is going to be actual like moss. Like it's not going to be real, but it's going to be, we are purchasing some off of Amazon, and I will be moving it around, hand sewing that on while also including flowers. And then with this look, I've ordered over like a lot of flowers, over $250 worth of flowers, and which is quite a bit. The flowers are like a chiffon, very like pink, multi-pack. There's jewels in them. There's a lot going on. It just, I feel like it adds more texture and more life to the look itself. The dress itself is going to be a crepeback satin. I haven't decided on if I want the shiny side or the dull side. I think for the rose look, it's going to be hit or miss for either one of them. One will be flat, one will be on the shiny side. And then these are my samples for the first look. I started out originally by upcycling one of my previous bodices that I had by rearranging the top and just kind of like forming it out into a dress. However, I did not like the amount of darts and seams and everything that was going into it. I didn't like the neckline shape. So I ended up restarting over, and I came out with a better like sweetheart neckline, which was upcycled from a bodice at Coral that we borrowed. And yeah, the bottom, the sheer skirts are going to be draped, so I'm not able to fully pattern that just yet because I feel like it's going to depend on fabric. Like muslin doesn't work the same as something with sheer. There's too much bulkiness and it's a lot thicker. But yeah. And then this is my sample for the cage dress. The oak tag, I ended up using that because I couldn't find anything to really give that full structure to actually have a better visual understanding of what I will be doing with the cage dress. It will be much fuller because it's metal and not paper. But I also ended up reconstructing this one as well with the bodice. The sheer skirt will also be draped as well. And it's going to have a corset in the back to kind of keep it more structured and just give overall more support because these are more heavier pieces. With this look, I also reconstructed the bodice. I wanted to keep that similarity between them with the bodice alone because the dresses are going to be different. Like they have different structures, the different body types. Like so, I wanted to keep the bodice because I just like that bodice a lot. It kind of started off with my first year look. I had a similar bodice and I just keep wanting to hold on to that. Me and Coral were talking about the functionality of this dress because it is more bodycon, it's more like to the body. And so we decided I'm gonna add a bidet. No, godet. Yes.
Yeah, not a bidet.
A bidet to the back of it. I'm probably gonna start it at about the butt and bring it down. And then I'm planning on possibly filling it out with flowers as well, just to kind of keep it more blended and not just there and a sore. Because I feel like the way I sketched it and originally designed it, I wasn't really expecting any of that. Because that was something I was personally like trying to work with, was figuring out how was this person gonna walk. Because right now there's no way that I can walk like that. I wouldn't even try. But yeah. And then these are a list of my fabrics. I have chiffon, crepeback satin, taffeta, organza, and velvet. These are the main fabrics I'm going to use. That pretty much just pull everything together. And then this is just the metal cookie, but that should cost about $20 to $30. So I'm not too worried about that. I have looked deeper into it. But yeah, as you can see, $223.84 is flowers. So that was the crepeback satin, and it's only $74. As to where a bunch of little things of flowers is 90% of my budget. So that was a very interesting look into putting this list together and trying to find and search for the best materials for me to use. And then this is more of a breakdown of it, just kind of explaining better about like what the fabric is going to be, how it's going to be used a little bit, where it's sourced from, is it Amazon Fabrics, the fabric district, but yeah, I will definitely go more in depth with that in my video. This is a pricing for the cage dress. I'm looking at retailing at about $1,200 to $1,800. I am not fully able to set a complete price on it yet because I have not put the hours in yet. I don't know how long these are going to take. I'm hoping they'll probably take around like 30 hours for that one and probably 30 hours for the rose dress. The flower dress with the flower hem like skirt, that's going to take a very long time and I'm looking so forward to that. But for the rose dress, I am looking to put it a little bit more on the cheaper side compared to other items, about $800 to $1,200. And for the flower dress, I'm looking at honestly setting it about $14,000. I might up the price a little just because of the amount of work and time and effort putting into hand sewing compared to just sewing with the machine. And these are my references. And yeah.
Maybe we can just land back on one of these images for discussing.
You feeling okay to hang tight for a little bit of feedback?
Okay, well, we'll just give people the opportunity to give you as much feedback as they can now, and then we can get some additional feedback when you send it.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get that this week.
If you need to rush out, just do it.
Okay.
I'll invite you guys to give some feedback while we're here and available.
Yeah. Based on what you were able to present, I mean, eventually when you're feeling better, I'd like to hear a little more storytelling around the brand side.
Absolutely.
But I think you did a great job explaining your thought process behind the collection itself. I liked how you explained kind of taking blocks you had already made and kind of experimenting. And I like seeing the pictures of the experimenting, like using the oat tag to like create that structure so you could kind of better visualize what you're doing. So I thought you did a really great job explaining kind of how you figured out how to troubleshoot and design some pieces, especially that cage one that without having all the materials in front of you, it could be a little kind of difficult to figure out. I love the cage idea. I think that would be really cool on the runway, and I like the idea. I like what you said about like pulling in like actual moss and stuff, and like making it look like a living object. I think that's really cool. And like the collection theme is like very obvious all the way throughout. And your color story fits really well with your overall brand. From a branding perspective, I like especially kind of hearing the name and seeing your name written out the way it is for the logo, and then the name of the collection. I mean, it's very minimalistic and it fits really well, I think, with what you're going for. My main critique, if you will, is your pricing. Like you said, because you said exactly what I wrote down. The amount of hand sewing that you're doing on a piece on pieces like that, especially that cage look, like if you were producing multiples of these, would need to be way higher, or you need to come up with some kind of like alternative methods of producing, because hand sewing is going to be double to triple the amount of time. And if you're kind of handcrafting even all these little things, or think about those chiffon flowers, if you were making those on your own, like how much time is going into that?
Some more of them. We're gonna like mix some like I'm gonna use some of the fabrics that we have here and a little bit of the sheer, the full chiffon from the skirt that will be left over into making a bunch of little more flowers, just to kind of give it more depth, because I feel like the rose has a lot going on. There's gonna be a lot of different materials and fabrics going into that, to where it has more like life to it. Where just buying a pack of flowers, it is a little bit more like time convenient, considering I only like
Yeah.
8 weeks to fully make this, and that's if everything gets here on time. To where I don't have necessarily the full time so I can craft a million
Yeah.
little flowers. I would love to, but that's not realistic.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I would think, like, long term, if you were making multiples of these, how much time do you need to spend on just like the little details?
Yeah.
And consider that labor cost into your pricing structure. The other thing too is I like everything is still fairly minimalistic and like I could see the nature theme and everything, there's still a lot of texture involved. Like you're mixing your use of fabrics. Like so silhouettes are all very simple and I don't want to say simple, but classic silhouettes. But like your use of texture and mixing different fabrics together and everything, I think it's gonna look really, really cool when it's done.
Plus Erin's wearing it. Her knees extra good.
Right. Again, what Joe just shared, you're gonna have to adjust your price points a little bit just because, and I love the fact that you broke it down piece by piece on there, because a lot of people get upset when they go to a designer like, can you make all, this is what I want, can you do it for $250? No, because it's gonna cost me $401.88 in materials, and that's without putting in the work. So that, this might sound weird, but the fact that you're sick right now, and this is such a soft line, it almost worked with the narrative, the story there. I mean, you're very soft-spoken, it's a very soft line. I think, based on what I'm seeing, I will hope your models are performative and not just kind of high-end. I would love to see them, especially the piece that had the you said it's birdcage kind of feel. That model better work it. I mean, take her time on that runway, pose, and okay.
It's her knees.
Okay, sweet, yes, because I was gonna say
She does a lot of stuff.
the models are going to show out in this.
I was gonna say too, sorry.
Yeah.
That cage look, or while she's talking about the model, made me think, I don't know if you've already thought about that, but like incorporating that moss into her hair could be really cool.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, no,
Some of
you're
the
fine.
model working at
But
that made me think.
this is going to be a very performative. Like I'm thinking, I can't think of the designer, but I'll have to send Coral the link or send you the link. But very slow on the runway, very dramatic movement, everything, and just the posing, all of that's going to have to be there. It doesn't have to be there, but that's just how I like to see it, because the work is going to be amazing. I can already tell. That was. The rose on that one piece. I would love to see that a bit bigger and more maybe a 3D, because it looked really flat from the profile image. I would love to see that a little more 3D and kind of pop out a little bit more, and maybe just a little bigger in the back, and then you can still see the model silhouette around it a little bit. That makes sense, especially when she's walking back. I give them something to come in and something to leave in. But for you being sick, this is amazing. Again, just those prices, very visually, aesthetically cohesive, and yeah, just using those materials. You just have to really be careful with how it doesn't always translate on the runway. Sometimes, if that makes sense, certain materials, like on drawing, it looks good, but once it's on the runway, you kind of lose that structure and shape. So you may want to reconsider some of the materials you were talking about, but. I know Coral's going to help you figure that part out, because I've seen some amazing pieces that looked good on drawing, but because of the materials they used, did not translate on the runway. So that's the one thing I would warn you about.
I'll try to be fast because you're ill. First of all, you're a badass for doing this. Very cool. You did an amazing job. But you were very professional, very engaging. I absolutely love the concept. I love the like elemental earth goddess like vibe of it. It's incredible. Very nature infused. Your branding was very clear. I'm not going to lay around what you say because I don't want to, you need to rest. But the thing that popped out about this above everything else is, of all these collections, the role of the person wearing the dress is like the most vivid and strong with your collection, because like you were saying, like the model's going to have to like play it up. Like it's going to have to be like, the person wearing the dress is like a part of the outfit a lot with this collection, and it's very, very cool. That the whole consumed by nature thing it's what really jumped out at me for this. It's very unique. and like being infused with nature it's very cohesive with your brand and your concept, and then the clothing, and then the way it relates to the wearer is all very connected, and that was what really jumped out at me. And you obviously have the technical skill and the expertise, you understand the process, presented that really well. Yeah, just awesome. But I'm not going to go into it because you need to lie down now.
Okay, I will invite the online group to offer their feedback. I think we still have a Wuti here, so Wuti, if you would be interested in coming on and giving some feedback to your former classmate, I'm sure it would be received well. Oops, we don't want to put you on Pinterest.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still there, Wuti? I didn't mute myself, did I? Okay. I'm gonna say, Yima, if you're able to chime in, and then we'll just switch out if Wuti's still here. No, she just left. Okay.
Yeah, happy to jump in. It's nice to see again from my visit to see the evolution and just the formation of this whole line and this brand. And I would just say, I forget who the last person who just gave feedback. And I know I said this to you too as well when I was visiting to Amira, to be mindful of the fabrics used, because of the fact that, like, okay, you want something that is going to be, that would translate well onto the runway. And I remember we had discussed velvet specifically for this look, look number 1 as well. So I'm curious about where we landed with that, but I'm excited to see the final product on the runway. Overall, with the branding and the experience of the brand too, I think that it is competitive, especially if you're talking about going into like department stores or certain elevated spaces or anything like that, especially in the locations where you want to be. Just with the way that fashion is trending at a macro scale, I feel like honestly this is something I would not be surprised to see in like a Bergdorf or any brand like that, or on a main street or anything. I would also think that maybe it could be useful if you aren't already. I didn't get a chance to see all of the sources that you use, but what brands are you using as inspiration, or is this I don't know if you're modeling just your approach or go-to-market strategy based off of what you're seeing from other brands or anything like that. But I think it could be useful to see something like, again, with the more feminine, more modest kind of look, a brand like a Zimmerman, and how they have been really taking over in that space, and that lean towards a more modest kind of look and very feminine leaning. That could be helpful as you are kind of going more in depth into the branding experience and just the cohesiveness of the Overline brand. Overall, good show, strong showing. I'm just excited to see how this all turns out, because I'm just like, with the trains and just the overall look and the experience and what you create for the models, I think it can come together pretty nicely. So congratulations, and you should be proud of yourself for sure.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Right. Let's see, what do we got left here? Anybody else on? I don't think so. Okay. Thanks, everyone, for your feedback. I'm going to go ahead and say, Yima, thank you for your time. I'll follow up with an email, and I'll make sure that you get the video from Amira so that you can offer feedback. I really appreciate you being here today. So thank you so much. Oh yeah, she can't see me. Alternate time and space here.
And totally fine.